Hello, my name is Carrie, and welcome to Degrassi Corner. And I know it's been kind of a while since I've done one of these videos. I really haven't bothered to create any videos over the second half of 2018 because there is literally nothing going on in the Degrassi universe, and that's not even remotely an exaggeration. We've also reached a point where, as a fan base, we need to stop clinging on to false hope. Stop clinging on to TV cancellation websites that literally know less than we do, and stop clinging on to the silence of everyone who worked at Degrassi as some sort of sign that, oh my gosh, there's a chance when it comes to Degrassi Next Class and whether or not we're going to get a season 5. I'm a big believer in you've got to be able to read the signs and use common sense, and in this case, the signs of trouble in Degrassi land have kind of been slapping us in the face ever since 2015. This video is a compilation of not only my thoughts of the Degrassi Next Class era and how it's been handled by the powers that be, but also a complete look at the timeline of events that have occurred since the end of 2016. I know there's a lot of people who still don't necessarily know what's going on and are still like, well, where is Degrassi? Are we getting a season 5? I heard there was a season 5 happening, and now there's not. There may be a couple of visuals here and there, but this is mostly an audio-only thing, so you can just sit back and listen from this point on. Now, I'm just going to get right into it and say it out loud. The Degrassi Next Class era, as we know it, is officially over. I know it's a hard pill to swallow, but at some point, you have to accept that. It's been well over 2 years since the show last filmed anything. Degrassi is not a complex show. It doesn't take Netflix 2 years to figure out if they want the show to continue or not. Everybody who worked on Next Class, both the cast and crew alike, are no longer working on anything Degrassi related. They've all moved on to other things, whether they wanted to or not. I'll get more into that later, but I want to go back all the way to 2015, that fateful summer when we all found out that Degrassi had been canceled by Teen Nick. I know there's some strong opinions about Degrassi Next Class. People either love it or they hate it. If we're being honest, I really enjoyed Degrassi Next Class. I look at it from the viewpoint of, I think they did a really good job with the situation that they were put in. I also believe that the Next Class era was put in a bad spot from the very beginning. The thing is, we were all so excited just to have Degrassi renewed that none of us really thought about how this thing was going to play out over the long term. If you've read Steven Stone's book, Whatever It Takes, he says that back in 2015, they basically had season 15 ready to go to start filming when they suddenly got that call from Teen Nick that they were canceling Degrassi. The Degrassi team really thought that they were going to be on Teen Nick for at least one more season. And if that had happened, we would have seen the Zig, Maya, Miles, Zoe class graduate in season 15. Also, from what Steven said in the book, it sounded like they were going to use season 15 as a test ground for how to build the show in a way that's more conducive to Netflix and other streaming platforms. So they were well ahead of the curve, and they knew that very soon they were going to have to build this show for a platform like Netflix or Amazon or Hulu. It just happened a lot sooner than they had planned. Season 15 on Teen Nick didn't happen, so they sort of had to retailor the stuff they had already prepared. And we had this weird scenario of an established show with established characters switching to another network. If you pay attention to Next Class closely, they had enough subtle continuity in the stories and characters for Degrassi fans who'd been watching the franchise on Teen Nick, but they also had to sort of avoid being so specific as to weave in storylines and major elements from the Teen Nick era in a more brash way in Next Class. To be very blunt, they just couldn't do anything that would force a new viewer to need to watch previous seasons of Degrassi in order to completely understand what was happening in Next Class. But for me, the red flag that something was off during the Next Class era actually came during season 3. So timeline-wise, I'm talking about early 2017. Netflix, after season 1 of Next Class, they didn't really do anything to promote the show. I'm American, so I can't follow the Canadian network Family Channel that Degrassi Next Class was airing on, but digitally, Family Channel wasn't promoting the show either all that much after season 1. Next Class season 3 is the best season of Degrassi since season 12, and there were virtually no press people covering it. Basically, other than some random press outlet in Phoenix who was doing episode recaps, no one was taking the time to really review Next Class. And the only reason that the press even acknowledged season 3 was the fact that Degrassi had to spoil Lola's abortion storyline just to garner some type of attention. The next big red flag was the summer of 2017 when we realized that they were filming a new season of Degrassi. I think the alarms would have gone off even bigger and louder at that point, but the thing was season 4 and all of the hoopla and extra content that came with that had been released, so people were kind of distracted with all that. But after season 4 was done and we had all consumed the episodes and all of the bonus content on Degrassi's YouTube channel, that's when things started to finally sink in that trouble was happening. Now this is the point where we're going to start taking a look at the timeline of what's been happening with season 5 of Degrassi Next Class, this mythical season of Degrassi that was happening and now it's not. Just know it's been a really weird 2 years. December 2016. That's the period when we received audition information for a new season of Degrassi. Since the seniors were graduating at the end of Next Class Season 4, that means Degrassi was looking for younger actors to create a new, younger class to complement the rising seniors. In January 2017, Stefan Brogren posted an Instagram video. He took us inside the audition room over on the set of Degrassi, indicating that they were indeed following through with the new season at the time. That was, however, the last visible evidence that we received about anything in regards to Degrassi Next Class Season 5 at that time. Now, Degrassi normally films their episodes during the summertime, but summer 2017, there was none of that. I know there's people who thought that they might have filmed it secretly. I've been a Degrassi fan for a very long time, and especially since Season 10 of Degrassi, they've been pretty transparent in terms of the stuff that they reveal while they're filming episodes of Degrassi. Back in the day, during the Season 10 era, Steven Stone himself would post pictures of the scripts. He'd post a picture of the front page and give us the episode titles so that we could sit around and mull about what the episodes might be about. Then in 2016, they were filming both Seasons 3 and 4 of Next Class. And basically, there were people from the cast and crew posting stuff on social media very regularly. We have a pretty detailed timeline of stuff that they were doing on the set over on my website, DegrassiBlog.com. But yes, no episodes were filmed during the summer of 2017, which posed a problem. It wasn't until December 2017 that we got a hint from Steven Stone while he was promoting his book, Whatever It Takes, that the writers were working on something. Now, the book does confirm that Degrassi writers were working on storylines for Season 5 of Degrassi Next Class. But the problem is that as we got into 2018, a new season of Degrassi, if they were going to be doing that, that'd be revealed around April or so, and they would start filming in May-ish. Well, April and May came, and we had absolutely nothing. And then, of course, another summer, this past summer, 2018, once again, nothing happening in terms of them filming Degrassi. Now, while nothing actually happened with Degrassi this summer, some really interesting things happened that set off all of the red flags that Degrassi isn't coming back anytime soon. First off, for me, the very big red flag that Degrassi's going on a pretty extended hiatus right after the release of Drake's I'm Upset video. Of course, the big video where he filmed it with Degrassi TNG alums on the set of Degrassi. It was revealed that Degrassi's longtime publicist Ian Christensen was stepping away from Degrassi for a while. And at that point, he was one of the very few Degrassi people still working. So when your publicist is leaving, that means there's absolutely nothing to promote. And there isn't going to be anything to promote anytime soon. There was also an anonymous Reddit post that talked about how the delay is because Netflix wants to make changes to Degrassi, including adding American actors. That, by the way, is totally believable, especially if you've been paying attention to what Netflix has been doing over the past year in terms of their high-profile teen shows like 13 Reasons Why, Everything Sucks, and On My Block, as well as their other teen movies like To All the Boys I Loved Before and Sierra Burgess is a Loser. The post also said that Degrassi Next Class actors haven't been on contract for over a year, and Dante Scott later confirmed that in a vlog that he posted over the summer. The biggest piece of information, however, was from Stefan Brogren. He spent part of the summer at a convention with other Degrassi TNG alums for sort of like a Degrassi mini reunion, and when he was asked at the convention if Degrassi is dead, he said, quote, "I don't think that means that Degrassi is dead, but it is definitely not going to be happening anytime soon. He also said that he was no longer a part of the show, but at that point, you should have already known that because there is literally nobody working for Degrassi. But this really interesting thing happened over the summer, though. There is a new series out on Hulu in America, and I think it's coming to Canada in January 2019. It's called Holly Hobby. It's about a young girl who lives in a small town. Very family-friendly show. The showrunner for Holly Hobby is Sarah Glinsky. She was the showrunner for Degrassi on T-Nick and also Degrassi Next Class. Quite a few of the Degrassi writers were also working on Holly Hobby. Stefan Brogren signed on to be a director for Holly Hobby. Sarah Weisglass, who plays Frankie on Degrassi, she appeared in a couple of episodes of this Holly Hobby Season 1. And if you're anybody who's paid attention to the opening and ending credits of Degrassi over the years, if you look at the opening credits of Holly Hobby, there are quite a few people who worked on Degrassi for a very long time who made the jump over to Holly Hobby. Oh yeah, there's also that part where they were filming parts of Holly Hobby on the set of Degrassi. And speaking of the set, there's a real estate listing for the set of Degrassi that I think has been up for a while, but it's really difficult to know what or why this is. All I know is that the Degrassi Next Class era, as exciting as it was to find out that Degrassi had been renewed right after being canceled by Teen Nick, I think the show might have been better off just ending at that point, or at least trying to take some time to regroup. But again, with the fact that they basically had everything in regards to season 15 in place and they were ready to go, they couldn't really do that. So it's just a really crappy situation from the beginning. You know, I keep seeing things like, for instance, there are various Degrassi Facebook groups where people will, hey, where's Degrassi? Is it canceled? Then people say, yes, it's canceled. Then other people will say, no, it's not canceled. We haven't heard anything from Steven and Linda. It's not official until they say something. Well, the issue with that is that way of thinking is super outdated now because they are not in absolute control of Degrassi anymore. When they sold their company to DHX Media, they basically sold Degrassi in the studio to DHX. DHX is the one who's got the power, man. The reason you're not hearing anything from Steven and Linda is they're probably not allowed to say anything. And the same goes for various cast and crew members who may know certain things, but from what I've gathered in terms of talking to cast members and talking to crew members behind the scenes, there was a lot of people who during this process did not know what was going to happen. Like they legitimately did not know what the future held for Degrassi. It is very safe to say that the Next Class era, as we know it, is over. If you're waiting around for Degrassi Next Class Season 5, I think that is very dumb. I'm not sure what the next step is. The thing that is difficult for us to wrap our head around is what is the next step? Because there was no official announcement about Degrassi ending. Even as early as, March 2018, we're sitting here thinking that there is still this chance that Degrassi Next Class is going to continue. From a timing standpoint, it doesn't make sense. The cast members are getting older. They're going to age out of their characters. And I know there's people who will dispute me on that, but we're talking about almost 2.5 years of their time has been wasted right now. And that's a really long time when you think about a lot of the current actors, especially from the season 10 era on, and the fact that they're spending maybe somewhere around 4 to 5, maybe even 6 years max on the show. So yeah, the Degrassi as we know it is definitely over, but there is some hope there, I think, in the idea that Degrassi will eventually live on. One of the things that I kind of sort of think about when I think about Degrassi, the TNG era on as a whole, is this show was always kind of built in a way, it seems, so that it could just go on forever seamlessly. There was a reason why they were adding new characters every season or every other season so that they could just sort of seamlessly let this show flow into a new era, a new generation without just sort of stopping abruptly to reset everything. But they also prevented them from getting that hard reset. The closest thing that we received was season 10, and that basically rejuvenated the series, I think. But since the transition from Degrassi Junior High and Degrassi High to Degrassi TNG, there has been no hard reset of Degrassi. And I think, with the situation that we're in now, where Next Class is over, I don't see any reason to bring Next Class back. Next Class is over, or at least it's over in the way that we think about it. As in, if they bring it back, I don't think we're going to get all of the characters who were left behind. I think it will just be all new characters. But maybe it is time, after all, for a hard reset of the series. One of the things I think I'm getting kind of annoyed with is the hatred in 2018 of Spinner and Emma as a couple. I get it. I hated them, back in the day. But then Degrassi Next Class did this thing where they created this awesome continuity and put forth more effort into sort of molding Spinner and Emma's relationship than Degrassi on Teen Nick ever did. And also, I'm thinking long term because Spinner and Emma provide a perfect opportunity for, if Degrassi is ever going to hard reset itself, Spimma would be a great way to do exactly what Degrassi TNG did back in 2001 when they had characters from Degrassi High as adults and integrated them into the show to sort of have this sort of seamless continuity and transition from one era of Degrassi to another. So that would be pretty ironic if, everybody hates Spimma and then Spimma is the reason that Degrassi is able to create an all-new series that sort of connects one generation of Degrassi to another. I personally do not think that Degrassi is over, 100% dead. I think it's sitting in Degrassi Netflix limbo hell. That's for sure. But just thinking about the history of Degrassi and what it means to Canada and Canadian culture, I think it would be super disrespectful if they were Netflix and DHX Media or whoever was trying to end Degrassi and they just sort of bury Degrassi Next Class and then just let this franchise sort of disappear. I don't think that is something that would happen. So that's the reason why I'm not really stressed out about nothingness when it comes to Degrassi Land these days. Just like with Stefan Brogren, I'm very confident that Degrassi will return at some point in a new way, shape, or form. The big question is just when. Is it going to be 2019? Is it going to be 5 years from now? Or is it going to be this thing where 10 years from now, all of a sudden we've got this new Degrassi and we're all sitting down watching with our kids or adopted kids or cats or whoever. Whatever the ending of Degrassi may be, I just hope that, when it comes time for Degrassi to actually be finished, the Degrassi and when I say be finished, I'm not talking about, we just cancel a thing. I'm talking about when they decide that they no longer want to ever produce any more new Degrassi episodes for good. I hope that DHX Media, at the very least, will give Degrassi the honor and recognition that it deserves for what it has accomplished and what the show has done in terms of its longevity in Canadian culture. That's all I've got for you in this video. If you happen to make it all the way through this, God bless you. The only advice I'm going to give you is don't sit around waiting for Degrassi Next Class Season 5 to come. Don't be that person who's sitting around waiting for an announcement from Steven Stone or Linda or somebody from Degrassi to tell you that new Degrassi is on the way. Go and live your life, and then when Degrassi comes back, someday, you will know. Fingers crossed that DHX, Netflix, somebody decides to have a New Year's resolution to create more Degrassi episodes in 2019. But until then, whatever it takes, I know you can make it through. Degrassi people always do that. Also, new year, new look, new page. Have a safe and happy new year, and I hope that we have some more Degrassi things to talk about in 2019.